Hello and welcome, my name is Krita from Corgi.com, and today I want to talk to you about free painting software for you. So if you're aspiring to be a digital artist but you can't afford any digital software right now, this video is for you. There's a lot of drawing software around and they're actually quite good and totally free. The only differences sometimes between this and the paying software is that they can be less intuitive. So like I said, there's quite a lot of options and I've tried to narrow it down to the 4 that I recommend and like the most. So let's take a look at them. Alright, so the first one I want to show you is something that you probably have on your computer if you have Windows and you never really bothered to open it up or only know its past version from when you were a kid, which is Paint 3D. This is basically Paint. It's very different now and I mostly recommended it for sketching, doing very simple drawings and studies. But it does have some very neat things. One of them is that you actually have a lot of options in your brushes. So you have a more calligraphic pen, a marker, a brush, an oil brush. You can change your colors, obviously. You have this watercolor, this watercolor brush, pixel pen, a pencil, a very normal pencil, which I really love the texture. You can change the size of it, you can change the transparency. You have eraser, you have this pastel texture, the spray one, and finally a paint bucket, if you want to see it. Okay, so it's very simple and I really like the textures of the brushes. Now the cons here are that you can't really change the pressure of them. So only the calligraphy one that you can more or less control the weight of your line, otherwise they all more or less the same. It's very hard to control it. You can only change the size of the brush or its opacity. Now, other than this, another great thing, if you like and if you want to try, you can do some 3D in this. There's also 3D shapes in here that you can do. So here we have a sphere. You can change it. Well, the sphere is not a very good example, obviously. So let's try something else, a cone maybe. So yeah, you see, you can change it around. So even though you might not choose this to make final drawings, you can use to do some studies and to watch things in 3D and in perspective and draw from there, for example. It even shows us here some shadows and everything, so it might be interesting to do some studies here. Then of course you can use some text, but this is very simple, very basic. I'm not really a fan of using text in 3D Paint. I think the only place that I like using the text and that I have a lot of options is in Photoshop from the things I've tried so far. Well, what else? You have normal 2D shapes and actual vector points, so that's really nice. And you can change each point that you made, so that's also really cool. I mean, I'm sure that if you do take a lot of time and you're really persistent with it, you can probably do great works with it. I mean, we've all seen great works being done in Paint, but there are easier softwares to work with. So I'd say to use this mostly for sketching and for simple studies than for actual finished pieces of work. So yeah, I'd say experiment a bit with this. There's a lot of interesting features, even if you have kids, for example. There's here some stickers that you can use and add to your drawings. I don't know, I think it is quite fun to use and quite worth the time to experiment a bit. But yeah, mostly for sketching. So I'm going to make a small work here. I'm going to try to make small works similar to each other in each one of these softwares, so we can make a very simple comparison at the end. So I'm doing here my mascot from my website. So if you've been there or if you haven't, well, go take a look at it at corgi.com. And I usually use this character to add on the articles, so that's what I'm doing here. Also, another thing that I want to point out here is, you might have noticed, but you don't really have pen stabilization here, so if you're not yet used to drawing your lines, it can be a bit harder. Alright, so this is it, 3D Paint, and we're going to take a quick look at our next free software. Now, we talked about Paint 3D, and just another thing that I wanted to add to it, and it's also the same case for the next one, is that it isn't too heavy on your computer. So it's no matter if you have a slow or not a good computer, it won't be a problem to use. And that's why I also recommend this one, is because you both have a mobile app or a web app, which means you don't need to download it to your computer. You have it here, it's pixlr.com, and you don't need to download it. So you come up over here or even here on top, and you have the web app, which you have here some infos talking to you about the software, and you can launch it and it will open the editor. So yeah, it will open the software. Now this one, if you've opened Photoshop before, you'll notice that it looks very similar to it, but not as complete. So it is great for very simple things, especially if you want to edit your photographs. It's really great for it. You can do a lot of manipulation and edition in here for free and directly on your phone or on your desktop on the web. Now for drawing, however, it's a bit the same as Paint. I don't really think it's great for finished artworks, but it can work quite well for sketching. Now, a new thing here though that we don't have in Paint is the option of layers. So you can come over here, create new layers, you can add masks to it, you can change the layer styles and even add some adjustments to your layers. So very similar to Photoshop, very intuitive and very simple to use. Other than that, well, there's not... It has some interesting textures in our brushes here. So this is our pencil brush. It is a bit weird, as you can see, but like I said, it does give some interesting textures. So it gives it very interesting textures. See here. So there's different brushes to it. Once again, they, or at least I don't feel like they have any stabilization to it. Let's try the brush. Yeah, no, it's very simple. So here the brush is very simple to use. It's very similar to the ones we see in Photoshop. But yes, like as you can see, for example, pressure, the lines, the weight of your lines, you can't really change it a lot. They're always the same. So for me, this is a bit of a con. I like to have different weights on my lines while I'm working. Once again, I'm kind of trying out all of this software for the first time and experimenting it. So from the things that I used, yeah, it does seem very simple, and I'm not really a fan of how the brushes work. I like to have different pressures, different weight line, and a bit of stabilization sometimes, depending on what I'm doing. Well, other than this, you have the usual tools, your selection tool or move tool, a lasso tool, a crop tool, magic wand, the eraser, it's also very similar to Photoshop. Gradients, you have the clone stamp, which is also something that you can use a lot, especially in photography. You can even make shapes as well, as you can see. You even have the red eye reduction tool, so this is clearly more for photography than painting, but you can use it as well for some simple sketching and studies. So I'm going to do my mascot here again, and we'll see at the end how it looks. So yeah, the brushes itself, or at least this one, or all of them so far, feel a bit weird, but like I said, if you don't have anything else and you just want to sketch out some new ideas, well, it works well enough for that. So it's really messy, really sketchy, but I think it works for that. Once again, if you just open this up for some sketching, very fast drawings, I think it's very good for that. Now the next one I want to show you is GIMP. You've probably already heard about it. So this one, you have to download it. It's totally free. It's good for both photo manipulation, create your own artwork, and even some vector. It's good for both drawing and painting. As I can see here, you can do some programming on it, so if you're into that, you can check it out as well. There's quite a big community in GIMP, a lot of people use it, so if you have any problem, you can search on the internet, you probably will find a solution for it. And even on their website, there's some tutorials, so if you want to get into GIMP, maybe download it and check the tutorials and do them so you can get into the software more easily. I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to have a very fresh and noob contact with it. But yes, there's quite a lot of tutorials here, as you can see. Now, when I installed it, just so you're prepared if this happens, I had just one problem, which was the software didn't recognize my tablet. I'm using a Huion tablet. I'm not sure if it happens with other brands, but this was also, once again, I looked on the internet. I had immediately a lot of solutions, a lot of links to show me solutions to it, and it was also very simple to fix. So I basically just add my device to it, and that was it. So input devices over here, you add your tablet, and it's done. So now the next thing I want to talk about it is that GIMP is not as intuitive as any other software we're seeing here. As you can see, its interface is very cluttered, it's very weird. The icons are not understandable at first sight. You have basically to pick them up and try them out, or of course, if you go through the tutorials, things get way easier. But what I mean here is that GIMP does have a bit of a learning curve to it. It's not as intuitive. So once again, we have here layers, which is great. I really like to have lots of layers on my work. And another thing that I want to point out here is, as opposed to both Paint and Pixlr, this one is very good for you to do your final artworks. So you can just sketch in here, or you can do all of it, all the steps, all of your progress in drawing. You can do your sketch, then your lines, or just your painting. Everything you want, you can start and finish the whole artwork here. So once again, this does have stabilization in your pens, or at least it feels like it. There's quite a lot of textures here as well. Overall, again, I felt that using the brushes here were a bit weird. You have this pencil brush and then the brush. But yes, there's quite a lot of options here for textures. So if you do a lot of digital painting, these ones might be very good for you. But for line arts, at least for me, and from a first experience, it doesn't seem as fun. But once again, for every software there's a learning curve to it, and well, God knows that the first time I used Clip Studio, it was a mess. I also had to learn it, and well, comparing my first works in it with my latest works, the new ones are much better than the first ones. So there's always that time for adapting to a new software, to discover new things and to learn with it. So don't be scared with it. Well, anyway, there's quite different. We have a calligraphy pen here, which is also quite nice. You can change your colors somewhere. Oh yeah, here. Dum. See, even here, changing the colors look very weird. It could be a bit less cluttered in my opinion, but well, it is not bad. It's a very nice software to use. So give it a try, it's free. So okay, I wanted to show you here's the transformation tools because they are actually quite nice. So we have here this circle, very simple circle, and well, let's start. So we have here, so see this one, you can already move it around a lot, skew it, rotate it, give it some perspective to it. Then we have just a simple rotation tool. There we go. Here we can also change its size and skew it a lot, distort it. And then this one, so there's a lot of transformation tools here. I really like that. So once again, I'm going to do our character here and see how that will go. So once again, it seems like, or I feel that it's missing some pressure, some sensitivity in the brushes. Probably you can change the settings just so everything is just how you like it. If you're serious about using a software or this software in particular, it's really all a matter of trying out. So yeah, I really recommend to try this one out. This is mostly it for it right now, and we're going to go take a look at our last software. And now, last and definitely not least, we have Krita. And I'm saying this because from all of these that I tried, this one was my favorite, and I'm going to show you right next why. Just want to show you the homepage for Krita, and also that you can do a lot with it. You can draw on it, do some digital painting, vector art. So if you want to do game art, for example, some icons, even some logos, you can do that in Krita. What else? So it's good both for illustration and graphic design. Oh, and another thing is, if you're into animation or you're trying out, you're studying it, you can do animation on this. So it's a free software that you can do a lot with. Not only that, once again, there's a lot of resources around. There's also lots of tutorials. If you come up over here, there's a lot of tutorials, general concepts, and even resources, free resources. So if you need some textures, if you need more brushes, which, let me tell you, Krita does have a lot of brushes and textures to it, so it's really great. And I might try and use it, Krita, more often, to be honest. From all of this, I really liked it. And let's take a look at it then. So here it is. Now, another thing I want to point out here is that Krita is great for beginners. So if you're just getting into digital painting and drawing in general, Krita is a very good place to start with. As you can see, it is very intuitive. All the tools that appear right here, you look at them and you can tell right away what they do. And another great thing is that you have stabilization on your brushes. So once again, if you're new, if you're not yet comfortable with your lines and how your lines look, this is a very good tool and this will help you a lot. So like I said, you can do vector. So I have here another layer. Yes, so you can change the sizes of your lines, obviously very similar to Photoshop. Let me give here some color. You can add your own point, or you can do lines and it will transport it into vectors. So as you can see, this tool here, if I do here a circle, it will change my lines into vector. But yes, I know that you can move your points individually. For vector, if you do want to make a logo, some icons, or even game art, this is also great. And then we have the brushes, and well, I'm having tons of fun with the brushes here. So first look at this. See, this is a tool on here. This is just one of the tools, and I'm pretty sure if I change here my brush, yes, exactly, it will also see how the weight of my line changes depending on how much pressure I add to my pen. So I'm really happy about this. Then we have our calligraphy pen. So really neat, really nice. This one, I think that if I change here, yeah, it's always the same. Oh, it turns, if I use this one, it makes a vector layer, as you can see here. So let me check. Okay, yes, so if I do have a vector layer, I can change, whoa, my points. So okay, if you do have here quite a lot of layers that you can choose when creating a new layer, and you can create right away a vector layer. So I'm guessing that if I do that, I can change exactly. So now if I do make a vector layer, I can move my points as I want. So this is really nice. I really like that we can draw our lines however we want and then manipulate the points if it's in vector. So if you like vector, this is also a very good software for that. Now, other than this, then we have our brushes, and like I said, the brushes here are my favorite. We have a lot. I'm going to change here the colors, so you see the amount of textures we have here is enormous, and you can change the sizes of your brushes, also depending on how much pressure you add to your pen. You can have different weights of opacity or lines. Your lines can be thinner or thicker depending on how much pressure you add to it. So I really liked this one, and the brushes, there's a lot of options here, especially for digital painting, a lot of options and control and customization to your artwork. So I really think you should give it a try and have lots of fun with it. The only con I might have for this one is that it can be a bit heavier on your computer. So I don't know, depending on which computer do you have, download it and see how heavy it's going to be on your computer. So once again, I'm going to be drawing here my mascots and my character and see how it goes. Hopefully it will go well. Alright, so it took me a while, but I think I found which brush I want to work with. So like I said, even the first drawing I'm doing here, it will look very not great, but by trying out it, just moving around with the brushes, I can have an idea that it can be great to use. So yeah, I might do some works with it, and if I do, well, maybe I'll post it up as well, a speed paint of it, and I hope you try it out and I hope you like it. Okay, so just very quickly, a recap and a comparison of each of our artworks here, or of our sketches. So this one was in paint. I'm really fond of this one, even though I think that paint should have been used for final artwork, more for sketching. I think that this end up being and looking very cute. The lines at least, not the shading, but the lines. I really like this pencil brush. I really like to sketch with a pencil brush, so that was fun. Now with Pixlr, you probably can really tell by the drawing that I wasn't really a fan of the brushes in general. Once again, it might be good, or it is good for quick studies, like I said, quick poses drawings, gesture drawing, 1 minute 30-second drawings. It might be really nice, and I might actually use it for that if I want to do some sketching on my computer and do some posing studies. I might use Pixlr for that. Then we have GIMP. Like I said, I think that GIMP can be a very good software, but you need to learn it. You need to take that time of adaptation and learning so you can use it to its potential. And then finally, Krita. Like I said, it was my favorite so far. I might try it out more often and learn it more and see what I can do with it. I'm mostly used to Clip Studio right now, so I'm sure that if I take my time or some time to learn Krita, I can do the same that I do in Clip Studio, and maybe even better and different things, try out different styles. I really like the textures, and as you can see, comparing to all the other lines, the control I have on my lines here is way better. So yeah, I hope you like them, and I hope you try them and you find your favorite software to use. So these are my 4 recommended drawing softwares, more specifically for painting, and if you need any links for these as well as other options for other types of art like vector art, pixel, 3D, as well as some options for iPad and even some paid drawing softwares. If you're interested, you can go to doncorgi.com/drawing-software. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any question, please leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Today I want to talk to you about digital drawing software. There's a lot of software. The only difference is sometimes is that they are less intuitive. Well, they're less intuitive. Oh my god!